Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very unique opportunity here to speak to the great Michael Franseze, who's here in Melbourne. And it's been a few years since we last caught up. What's it been? 6, 7 years now, Mike?
I think 2016 or 15.
Yeah, it would have been, around about then.
I was a lot younger then.
Yeah. So we've wanted to catch up while you're here in Melbourne,
Right.
and sort of, just really sort of carry on where we've left off from. As opposed to where things were at 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Right.
and what we're working on today. But first and foremost, welcome back, brother.
Well, thank you, Joe.
It's great to have you here and
Pleasure
see
to
you
be here.
again.
Thank you.
And we're really excited to hear you speak tonight, your Q&A at the Palais Theatre, and also to have you at St. Catherine's tomorrow night. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Excited to be in both places, and
Yep.
Melbourne has always treated me well. People were wonderful. The last
Yeah.
event we had here was great, and I expect the same tonight and
Yeah.
tomorrow.
100%. That's
And
for
also
sure.
in Sydney on Sunday. I don't know when this is going to
Yeah.
air, but
Yeah, no, Sydney will be great. I'm sure. I was over there a few weeks ago, and there's a very vibrant community there, and they all love I'm sure they're going to love your story. So tell us, I guess, where are we at now, Mike? What are we working on? What are you really sort of focusing on right now?
well, nothing has changed with respect to my speaking all over the world.
Yeah.
That has expanded now that I have a bigger platform on social media. It
Yeah.
seems to have gone worldwide.
Which is fantastic. I noticed you've got like over 1 million followers now on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's just we're
That's-
very fortunate. It just happened to take off
Yeah,
in the last 2 years or so. So, it's widened my platform and
Yeah.
my reach. So I've been getting requests from all over the world.
Yep.
So that's been great.
So you went over to London, I saw, is that right?
Yeah, we're doing another tour. I did a
Yep.
tour of London last
Yep.
summer,
Yep.
and it was great. And we went actually, it was the UK. We
Yep.
went to all over the UK, Scotland and Ireland, and it was great.
We had a gentleman over a few weeks back from London. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. Might be worth having a chat to him as well. John Pridmore, very colourful background, London guy. He was heavily involved in the underworld there in London as well, and had an incredible transformation as well. And yeah, I mean, very similar. Not exactly similar, but very similar. Like the conversion story.
Right.
Very incredible, very powerful. That was something I wanted to just mention to you. Maybe not so much in the interview, but even off camera.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been, really good to.
Well, it could be.
Yeah,
I met,
Yep.
I was there for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, wow, that's a
And
long
I
time.
actually
Wow.
loved the UK.
Yeah.
People were wonderful, and it
Yep.
was just a great tour. And I
Yep.
met a lot of guys that,
Yep.
street guys.
Yeah,
They
wow.
kind of gravitate to me.
Yeah.
Seeking me out, and then, but they were all gentlemen. We had a
Yeah.
good time with all of them. So I could.
They're a
possibly
colourful
run
bunch
into
over
them.
in London, aren't they?
They
Yeah.
really are. My biggest problem is I can't understand any of that.
Yeah.
When they're talking to me. Our Q&A, I need a translator.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Michael, we speak English. I said, I know, but I speak American.
Yeah, that's-
There's a big difference. But and as a matter of fact, tonight at the Q&A, we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
have the same. I said, I need a translator.
Yeah.
I get you, though. I
Yeah,
can
you get me.
understand.
No worries. I'm
You're,
there.
you're
Don't-
a little easier here.
Yeah. I think it's the Italian background, right?
Yeah. No,
The,
it's amazing.
they're great.
And in
It's-
Scotland, forget it.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's a different language.
It is.
I don't know how they do. I really don't. It's crazy. But anyway,
No,
it's good.
that's great. I love it. I've found in England, if they're not a football hooligan, they're probably a gangster. They're quite passionate about their football, so that's
Yeah.
where I kind of blend in really well with them. I love my football, I
Yeah.
love my soccer, as they call it here in America, soccer. So you were telling me about the Cuba project.
Yeah. Well, I've been asked by a big tour company to lead a delegation, maybe I should call it that, of tourists
Yeah.
to visit the island for 4 days, 3 nights at
Fantastic.
the Nacional Hotel,
Yep.
which was where, the big meeting that Lucky Luciano called in 1946.
Yes.
Luciano and Meyer Lansky.
I think they kind of played that in Godfather 2, right?
Yeah, Godfather 2.
Yeah, when Michael went over to Cuba
Correct,
with
yeah.
Hyman Roth, they tried
That's
to
correct.
art imitating real life, that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
and
Yeah.
Roth was Lansky, and
That's right.
Luciano wasn't
Yeah.
Corleone, but
Yeah.
that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's
But it
right.
was a real thing. I mean, it
Yeah.
really happened.
Yeah.
Luciano had just come out of prison,
Yep.
and he was trying to consolidate power
Yeah.
and really set up gambling and gaming in Cuba, which he did successfully.
Actually, I remember this now. Luciano did move to Cuba, didn't he?
Well, he didn't move there. No, he he set up shop there.
Okay, right.
Because Lansky built the Riviera Hotel at that time.
Right.
And
right.
so they were getting, establishing business there. The government was corrupt. They were able to pay them off, and they were happy to have them at that time. But then, the revolution came in '59. And Castro came in, chased everybody out, destroyed the casinos, and that's when they moved to Vegas.
So that's when they moved to Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm getting my wires crossed because I thought Luciano ended up getting deported from America, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah,
he got deported.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, it's funny that, they talk about mob guys talking to the police and cooperating.
Yeah.
Well, Genovese was the one that was cooperating with the police at the time, law enforcement, to get Luciano, his enemy, out of Cuba and deported to Italy, and he was successful in doing that.
And was it Luciano or Genovese that was instrumental in the Americans getting into Sicily at that time?
Luciano.
It was Luciano, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm going back and forth a bit.
It was Luciano.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, for doing that, he got his sentence reduced.
Yeah.
In the state of New York.
Because I remember he moved to, was it Naples, I think it was?
Yeah, they deported him. He was in Naples, trying to get back here.
And he was trying to run operations from then. From there, I remember.
Yeah. Basically, he was. And
Costello
was watching things for him here. He's the acting boss here in the States. But it's a good story.
It was the golden generation, wasn't it, Mike?
Oh yeah, it was the golden era of that life. I mean, look,
you
can't deny it, and I want to be careful. I'm not glorifying the life, but it's part of history.
Yeah, that's right.
That you have to acknowledge.
Yeah,
the CIA came to Luciano twice actually. Once for help on the docks because we controlled the docks. And wanted to make sure that things coming into the country were not dangerous.
Yeah.
And that things going out of the country went smoothly, and then they called him to help out in Sicily.
Yeah, that's right, and I'm glad that you're pointing that out because they are the influential things that the mob did during those times that were actually really needed, and the government weren't able to do on their end. And thank you again for pointing that out, and thank you again for pointing out that yes, we're not. I think there is a certain level of admiration, and I've seen you say this that there is a certain level of admiration that people do have towards mobsters, and I think in particularly American mobsters. I think that's just came with Hollywood as well, but it also comes down through I can talk through your roots, through my roots. I think it comes down through Southern Italians, the oppression that Southern Italians experienced so many years ago, right? Well, maybe not your grandparents, maybe not even my grandparents, but onwards, right? I think that was the custom back then, and I think that was the people that they could go to not be oppressed by whoever it was, the government, the local landowners who were. I mean, I know personally from my background, being Sicilian, that they weren't treated very well by their own people.
No.
Yeah.
Well. I mean, the whole mafia formed in Italy and all of that. But listen, it's part of American history, and I'll tell you to what extent. I speak at universities throughout the country in America, and I was asked to speak at the University of Iowa, mostly to all the student athletes, talking about gambling, relationships. And then a professor came to me, I didn't even know this, but they have a course, an accredited course at the University of Iowa, The Mafia and the Movies.
Yeah, wow.
That's the course.
Yeah.
And it's the history of the mob in the United States.
Yeah.
And the course, when it opens up, if you don't register in the first 15 minutes, it closes. So they asked me to come and speak. And the professor was great, a female, and she was from Italy. And very knowledgeable about the life. And I spoke to the crowded class for like an hour and a half. And I was more interested in what they had to say than, they wanted to hear from me. But I said, why did you get into this course? What was your interest? Well, it's part of history. We're intrigued by it. We're enthused by it. Every one of the students was saying the same thing. So they actually teach the course.
And getting back to the American history, like you were saying, if it wasn't for the mob, there wouldn't be a Vegas. There wouldn't be
100%.
Yeah, it wouldn't. New York, to a certain extent, wouldn't be what it is today either.
Let me tell you something. I know plenty of guys, myself included, that were arrested for gambling issues until the government took it over, and now they're in the gambling business.
Yeah.
We taught them.
It's
It's illegal and it's a bad thing unless the government is doing it and collecting taxes.
That's
and
right.
it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They put a disclaimer underneath. Make sure you don't gamble, foolishly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We know a little bit. We know quite a bit about your background. We all sort of I think anyone that would be watching this would be sort of, very few would be new to you. There'd probably be certain ones that do, but obviously they can look at you on YouTube and whatnot. My question to you is, after everything you went through in life and where you are today, what's next?
Well, look, I'm 72 years old,
Yeah.
so it's not that I have, these great plans for the future, other than to continue doing what I'm doing as long as the Lord will allow me.
Yeah.
And, I continue to speak around the world because I enjoy it. I enjoy the reaction.
I see that.
Yeah, I enjoy the reaction from people and the fact that they're getting something positive out of it.
Yeah.
And they're entertained a bit, it's important. So I'm also in the wine business. We're selling wine now from Armenia. Initially from Armenia. And we've been in that for about a year and a half, and that's going very well. As a matter of fact, we might be bringing it here to Australia.
Oh, great. Excellent.
We had a meeting while I was here. And I'm also in the pizza business.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So I'm very excited about both of these companies because of the potential that they are showing us.
Excellent, and that's really exciting. But more so about, I think, just touching on what you said previously, and obviously going on with, tomorrow night you're going to be sharing your testimony at St. Catherine's, touching on a little bit more about your faith. I felt that was really important. I know it's really important to you. It's really important to me. That's kind of why I feel we've we've sort of been able to work together quite a bit. The story that you share, surely I think you would know, and I think for anyone else that would be watching, it's such a powerful testimony, right, of how you can really transform your life and be able to sort of take what life has given you, right, and also how you persevere, through so many challenges, but I think it was really from your personal experience, from what I've noticed hearing your story so many times, I think things really turned around for you when you had that jail time where you were sort of secluded for so long, and you started reading the Bible. Is that right? Yeah,
it was during my prison term. When I was in lockdown, I was in solitary for a while. Yeah. I mean, I obviously went to Catholic school and I knew about my faith, but I didn't have a relationship with God at that point in time, a relationship with Jesus. And, I can sum it up really easy. Had I stayed on the path that I was on, I'd either be dead or in prison for the rest of my life, like all of my former associates. Not like some of them, like all of them. Dead, in prison, the rest of their lives. And I was very high profile, major target, and a big factor in my former mob family, the Columbos. Right. So that was my destiny, without a doubt. God selected me for some reason to do what I'm doing now, and I look at it that way. Yeah. And I believe this. I'm not a perfect Christian by any means.
I don't think anyone is.
No, but I want to make that clear. My faith is perfect because nobody can take it out of my head. I believe Jesus Christ is my Savior, and nobody can ever change that because I spent 2.5 years researching it, number one, and I've spent the last 25 years with the Lord proving that to me, not only in my life, but in others. So that's rock solid, but that doesn't mean that I'm a perfect Christian. No. My belief is perfect, and we all fall short.
100%.
But I also believe this. To those who have been given much, much is expected in return. And I've been given my life, my freedom, my family, and the ability to go out and have a platform to influence people. And if we as Christians are serious about our faith, we have to obey Jesus' last command. And what was his last command? Mark 16:15. Go out and preach or share the good word with all of creation. And if we're given a platform and we're negligent to that, then we've committed the sin of omission, not commission. Much just as bad as the sin of commission. So I take that seriously, and that's why I do. That's why I'm speaking at the church tomorrow night. I had to make all different arrangements in order to do that with the person that is handling these events. I changed flights, I changed everything. But it's important. If I have an opportunity to do it, I have to do it. I feel that way. So. Look, God has been very good to me. I got a lot more than I deserved. I earned far worse, but than blessed.
I think that's a great summary, and thank you for sharing that. I think there would have been so many that would have sort of just said, yeah, look, I'm lucky to, be fortunate enough to still be alive, or, still, or just come out of jail, and they would have just left it at that. But you didn't, you continue on with your faith, and you went out and basically spoke out to the world. And that's where I feel that's been the greatest testimony for what you do, because you've been not only just been doing it for the last couple of years, but the last 25 years now. And that's where I feel that faith and that synergy between you and God really sort of grew and became, greater and stronger. And I guess that's why you knew that there was something inside you that you felt that you had to do tomorrow night and continue speaking wherever you're out,
And I also think, people say, well, why you, Michael? And I can't answer that other than the fact that, look, I was a criminal, and I did bad things. I committed sin, and I violated the law on a daily basis, every day. But I also know this: God knows our hearts.
That's right.
Now, there was times that I did things that were very bad. I wasn't comfortable in doing them, and I'll be the first to admit it. I did them. I have to take full responsibility. But how did you do that? Well, kind of steps outside of myself and say, okay, this has to be done. And I went to a different mindset.
Yeah.
And that's not an excuse. I'm just making an explanation.
That's right.
But my point there is, I think God knew my heart.
Yes, I agree.
And he said, all right, he's doing bad things, but he don't really want to. I can do something with this guy. 100%. And that's how I put it. And he gave me this platform. And also, I think one of the things that really might have saved me in that regard, my partner became an informant, and he and I were very close. We created one of the greatest schemes of the century.
That's right.
He and I did it together.
Yeah.
And we both played our roles in that.
Yeah.
And he gets indicted on an unrelated case. We had a compound in Panama that we owned. We were paying Noriega at the time for asylum there.
Yep.
There was no extradition law between Panama and the United States. That's why he left.
Good old
there.
Panama.
Yeah, he was in the middle of a trial, this guy. Middle of a trial. Maybe he would have got 5 years if he got convicted. Not a big deal, but he didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
And he says to me, I'm not going to get convicted. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Panama. I'm going to live there. I said, you're crazy. Because if the government catches you, they're going to add on another 5 years for running away in the middle of your trial. He said, no, I got to do it. So he goes, takes our plane, he goes, right? And did some very silly things while he was down there. Like the U.S. government didn't know he was there, right? So what happens? There's no extradition, but the U.S. goes in there in the middle of the night and they kidnap him.
Wow.
Put him on a plane, bring him back to Florida, throw him in the cell. When
That's
he gets
the
in there,
extent they went to go after you.
Kidnapped him, and they
kidnapped him in Panama to go after you.
Yeah, because they couldn't extradite him legally, so they went and kidnapped him, took him out.
Was it the CIA or the FBI?
No, the FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they throw him in the cell. He sees that cell and he says, "I'll tell you whatever you want to know about Michael."
Yeah.
Right. So prior to this, there was signs that he was a problem, and the family came to me and said, "Look, we'll kill him for you." And I said, "Look. Our wives know each other." It was my first wife. I was married then.
Okay.
His kids call me Uncle Michael.
Yeah.
My kids call him Uncle Larry.
Yeah.
We've traveled together. We've dined together. We've had vacations together. We have planes together. We do all. I said, I can't do that. I says, I'll fight him in court.
Yeah.
No. It's going to blow the whole operation. I really extended myself with my boss and said, I will not allow this to happen. I'm talking to the boss like that.
Yeah. So this was Carmine at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah. I said, I can't have that happen. I didn't get disrespectful to the boss, but I said, Junior, I carry some weight in this family. I've made you a wealthy guy. I don't want that to happen.
So you wanted to fight it in court?
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that maybe a test that God gave me at that time.
Wow.
Because if he's gone, there's
that's
literally no
powerful.
witness against me.
Yeah.
No witness against me. So, so I actually did 10 years in prison based upon his testimony.
Yeah.
I took a plea. I didn't let him get me in court. But what happened to him? We had, the government gave him $2.5 million out of our stolen gas tax money and put him in the program and then released him. He goes to Florida. Joe was so funny. I was telling the law, I said, look, you don't understand this guy. I said, he'll never be out of the gas business. There's too much money. He loves money.
Right.
And he loves to live the high life. He will never be out of the business.
Can I ask a question? Was he in the Colombo family as well?
No, he was my associate.
He was your associate?
Yeah,
okay, so he wasn't a main guy?
No.
Okay, right.
So I said, he'll never be out of the business. He likes it too much, and he just loves money.
Yeah.
And we have this system down that nobody else, he knows it, and he'll continue it.
Yeah.
He moves to Texas.
Yeah.
He goes back into the gas business, brings his whole family into it.
Yeah.
What happens? The Fed said, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They lock him up. They lock his whole family up. His entire family.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Entire family.
Yeah.
His son and daughter testify against him.
What?
He gets convicted, and they give him 20 years. Now, what happens? There's certain things I didn't tell you about Michael. We're not interested. Michael's in jail. You're going down. And they give him 20 years.
Right.
He does 17 on the 20. He comes out. His family is alienated from him.
So he could have just done 5. He ended up doing 17.
No, he would have done 5. If he didn't become an informant, I would have never had to take a plea. You know why? The government could not figure out what we were doing. I ran the operation for 8 years. They couldn't figure it out. I'm in my.
It's quite funny when you hear it back now. After so many.
I'm in my dealership. I had a Mazda dealership. 2 agents come to me. This is after we were in business for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And they said, Mike, we got to talk to you on the outside. My dad was there. I said, Dad, I'm going to go. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk to him. So I go out and I said, what could I do for you? They said, listen, we know what you're doing. We just can't figure it out in the gas business. He said, tell us, we'll give you a pass. They're going to give me a pass. I said, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I go to the gas station, I fill up my car. I don't know what you're talking about, right? If you want to buy a car, I'll give you a break. They got so upset with me. You won't help us out. We're going to give you a pass. I said, guys, come on. You think I was born yesterday? I've been around you guys forever. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. They could not figure it out. So he gave them the step-by-step.
So even though you were in jail, they kept still doing the scheme, right?
No, it blew up.
Yeah, it blew up, right?
You know, one of the greed is a tough part of my life. When I left, I told them, I went to my Russian partners. I said, look, this is how this got to go. You're going to answer to somebody else. No, Mr. Michael, we're loyal to you. I said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to jail. You have to answer to someone else. They wouldn't do it. Because I told my guys that took over, my dad, I said, these guys are not punks. They're stand-up guys. Treat them like men. I got along with them for 8 years. We made millions of dollars together. They put the arm on him. They were bullying him. They wouldn't go along. They shot one of them. They killed him. Yeah, right. They went after the second guy. They put him in I don't know how they shot him 9 times. Somehow he survived. Yeah, right. And the third guy ran away. So they blew up the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah. And you know, Joe, I'll tell you, and this is a little off too, but it's funny. Yeah. When I met these guys, they couldn't get licensed, right? They couldn't collect the bill. Somebody owed them like $7,000 and they couldn't collect it. So they came to me through somebody, the Russians, right? Yeah. And they had gas stop was their branded station. Yeah. So I collect the money for them and I said, look, you guys, I know what you want to do, but you can't get licensed. I said, we'll have an arrangement between us. You buy the gas from me and I'll cut you in. Oh, Mr. Michael, what's the deal? I said, very simple, 75% me, 25% you. I said, Mr. Michael, we don't think that's fair. I said, no, it's very fair. Well, why? I said, because you're going to rob from me a little bit. We're on the street. I know what you're going to do. I said, this way I won't feel too bad because I'm getting a major part. I said, but don't let me catch you. That's all I tell you, right?
So
Joey, listen to this. The 3 of them go huddle up. After I tell them that, they huddle up and they come back and they go, that's fair. And they say, so you're admitting you're going to steal, but you know, who cared? We're making so much money. Who cared? Let them enjoy themselves. We made so much money together.
Are they still in a big way, the Russians in Brooklyn over there, do you think?
They have a presence, but you know, law enforcement has cracked down on everybody. Look, you can go in now in my country. You can go into the subway, knock somebody over the head, go to no bail, come right out. You can go into the department store, steal everything off the shelf, go next day you're out on bail, no problem. But you're a member of the mafia, they want to kill you. That's just the way it is. And it's the hypocrisy to the nth degree.
Yeah, that's right.
Hopefully we'll have a good attendance tomorrow night at the church because out of everything I'm doing, Joe, I love sharing my testimony. That's really my primary goal in coming out and speaking. And even in these ticketed events, they hear about my faith.
Yeah.
And I know that people in the Q&A will ask about it.
Yeah.
And, I appreciate that very much, because the bottom line, that's what's most important. We can tell mob stories, we can entertain, we can do all of that.
That was the kind of point of this.
Yeah, but people want to be encouraged.
Yeah.
And when they see someone that can come back from a bad situation, make a transition in their life, it's encouraging to them, because I've noticed one thing. You have to be relatable. Now, I'm in a mob. Most people are not relatable to that, but most people are relating to a struggle they've had in their life.
Yeah.
Question I get 90% of the time: how did you forgive yourself? How do you forgive others? How do you get yourself back on track? How did your wife stay with you for 8 years? How did your kids react when you were away? And a lot of people in different circumstances are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Divorce rates are so high in the United States, probably around the world. So high. How did you stay with your wife? She stayed with you 8 years through all of that? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, we had a foundation in faith.
Yeah, that's right.
If we didn't, I wouldn't be with my wife right now. There's no question. She would have left me. My kids, I found out one thing about children. You have to give them something bad about you to have them not love you. Kids want to love their parents, no matter what. My dad was, I love my dad more than anything. And he was a mob guy, mafia guy.
Yeah.
Didn't matter to me.
That's right.
He treated me good. I wanted to love him. I didn't care what people said.
And that's what I've taken so much out of your story, the bond that you had with your father and how strong it was, and how it was going into that life wasn't really your choice. It was something that you kind of, yes, you did, you knew what you were doing, but you had other motivations outside of you.
I got into life to help my dad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That doesn't excuse what I did.
That's right, yeah.
Everybody comes into something for a different reason. I still did what I did, but I didn't aspire to be a mob guy.
Yeah.
Somebody said, what did you want to do in your life? I wanted to play center field for the New York Yankees. Mickey Mantle was my idol, and I wanted to be a baseball player. Yeah. It just wasn't good enough. It was okay, but it wasn't good enough. But I did it strictly to help my dad. Because he had a death sentence, basically, a 50-year prison sentence at 50 years old, and he needed help. Yeah. And my family was, this big myth. Oh, guy goes to jail, they throw money at the family, they take care of him. Nonsense. Yeah. My dad had some money on the street. After 2 years, it ran out, and we had to fend for ourselves. Yeah. Nobody gave us anything. And my dad was a prominent guy. Yeah, he was. So I got 3 younger brothers and sisters. I have my mother. Yeah. I was the oldest. I had help. Yeah. So I got on the street for that reason. But, a lot of guys got into that life because they wanted to be a mob guy. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah. And that's going back to what we were touching on before, where I kind of sort of said, like, you went into that life reluctantly. And me personally, looking at your testimony, your story, I feel that even then God had a plan for you.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
God has a plan for all of us.
That's right.
All of us. Yeah. You don't have to be a mob guy. You don't have to be a pastor. Yeah. You don't have to have a platform around the world. I tell people, listen, your purpose in life could be to bring one person to the Lord.
That's right.
And if that's your purpose and you fulfilled it, then we're on equal ground.
Yeah, 100%.
You might have been given less than me, and that's your capability, but if you've done it, we're equal.
100%. And that's why, just before we do wrap it up, I think that's really been the motivation to sort of reach out and have another chat to you today. Michael, because I've seen that that is really your greatest motivation. Telling the mob stories, obviously you've enjoyed.
Get you in the door.
You get you in the door, exactly, right? Yeah. But it really is the leading people back to their faith. That is, I feel, the real motivation and the real purpose for you doing what you do. And that's why we're really looking forward to have you speak tomorrow evening at St. Catherine's.
Yes.
And whatever else we continue on doing from there.
Are any priests are going to be there? Last time I spoke at a Catholic men's ministry, there was about 2,000 men there, right? Yeah. Right up front, there was about 10 priests and the bishop and everybody, right? They brought me there. Yeah. So I finish. And they all know I'm a Christian now. I was a Catholic and I am a Christian. Yeah. Catholics are Christians, just
obviously,
do things a little differently. So when I'm done, this was funny, Joe. Yeah. They surround me like, a circle of guys. Yeah. And they're all trying to tell me to come back to the Catholic faith. Yeah. And I'm listening. Yeah. This went on for 15 minutes and they give me the whole thing. As a matter of fact, one of the priests communicated with me from email for about 3 years.
Wow.
All right, back and forth. Lovely guy. Yeah. So I'm there. And when they're done, I said, okay, I hear you. I said, but can I sum this up, the difference between a Christian, evangelical Christian, and a Catholic? And they said, please do, Michael. I said, okay. And I looked at one of the priests and I said, okay, let's say you and I, we die on the same day, right? We're going up to heaven. Let's hope so, right? We're going up to heaven. We get to the pearly gates and there's St. Peter. I said, I'm going to give you St. Peter, right? You got St. Peter. He opens the door. We start to walk in. There's a crowd of people, St. Mary, St. Elizabeth, St. Peter, St. John, St. everybody, right? And you're stopping along the way to shake hands with everybody. Jesus at the end, I'm going straight to Jesus.
Yeah.
I said, that's the difference.
That's the difference.
There's nobody in between me and Jesus.
That's probably the best analogy I've heard.
That's it. And they looked at me and they said, never quite heard it like that before. I said, all right, now you get it.
That's it.
We don't pray to the saints. We don't tell confession to a priest.
Yeah.
Everything is personal between us and Jesus.
Yeah.
And I like it that way.
Great.
So hopefully, if we get that, if you want to tell that explanation in advance, it's okay. But if I get a priest tomorrow,
not at all. Not at all.
He's going to try to bring me back.
Look, I've sent them your material. They know who you are. I've kind of brushed them up on that. We're going to have a good night tomorrow night, and we'll be excited to see where it goes from here.
The one thing I like about the priests and the bishop, the night before, they took me to a dinner. They must have had 10 bottles of wine on the table.
Yeah, that's it.
They like their wine.
Yes, they do. They do.
I was teasing them at the time and say, hey, you guys come out to California, I'll bring you to Napa Valley. We'll have.
Well, now you've got a new wine product you can.
I'll have some. Well, no, I'm not going to bring it to the church. But we'll have some tonight. I think we have. So,
why not?
I think I left them in Sydney. Yeah,
that's right. We'll fly over to Sydney and have some. That's fine.
All
Thanks, Mike.
Joe,
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Good on you.
Appreciate it.